Hello everybody, I hope you are having a wonderful day. I found something kind of weird. I know they sold these things by the millions, but I had never actually held one in my hands. This is a Tandy 102 and it was extremely cheap, so I have no idea what to expect with this thing. But it was, I think it was actually, originally they were designed by like Sharp or Kyocera or something like that. But I remember these things in the Radio Shack catalog back in the mid to late 80s, and they were the earliest like true laptop type computers. They had a real keyboard on there, like an actual decent, honest to goodness keyboard. And they ran BASIC and like a little bit of a word processor type thing and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know they have a whole lot of use today, but I just thought it was cool, so I picked it up and thought I would show it on the channel. Looking around the side here, we have an on-off switch and a rotary thing for the display. I've got something here that says 6 volts DC. It did not come with a power supply, so I have no idea what to expect. We've got RS-232C, something about system bus, something else about printer, phone, and cassette. So essentially like a modem port, this looks like something you would see on like a TRS-80 or something like that. Interesting. And then over here we've got something, what does that say? BCR? I have no idea what that is. Again, I did not pre-look up anything about this computer, so it's just kind of interesting. So here we have DIR and ACP, and then ANS and ORIG, which is a little hard to read there, but there we go. DIR and ACP and ANS and ORG. So I have no idea what that would mean. And well, let's see. I did see there's some stuff here on the back. What's this one say? Memory power. So I guess you can cut the power to the memory on or off. Maybe what you could do is maybe that's to save battery, because it does run on batteries from what I understand, and hopefully there's no leaky batteries in here. Oh, look at that, Kyocera. So this is a part number 263803 Tandy 102 by Kyocera, and it was made in 1985. So that is very cool. Let's take these covers off here. Oh, look at that. We've got a clean battery compartment. Cleanish. There's like a little bit of corrosion down there, so maybe this thing will get a full tear down. And then we have this other compartment over here. Hopefully it doesn't have any kind of battery in it. We have, let's see, an NEC chip. I'm guessing it's some kind of ROM or something like that. Okay, that is like a castellated, what do you call it, castellated? That is not from the era of this computer. Let's see here, let's pull this thing out. Okay, so in the ROM socket, we have this thing, and what, that's a Xilinx. It's a Xilinx chip in there. It's like a little microcontroller sitting in here where something else should go. Okay, Tandy experts, what am I holding in my hand? It is the Rex. Okay, so this is weird. I have no idea what I got myself into with this thing, but apparently, like, one of the ways that you could either upgrade this thing or use it was to have a whole bunch of different option ROMs, where you could just have some read-only memory that would store other programs or store your files or whatever. Well, this is a modern upgrade for that. So I literally have no idea what is on this thing or what it was used for. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some batteries in it, and let's try to fire it up. And I did see that there's a basic command you can call to access this thing, and so we're going to see. So I've got some Amazon batteries here. From what I understand, this thing runs like 20 hours on AA batteries, which is ridiculous. And I don't know if this part's corroded. I don't know if the machine even works. So I could be getting all excited for nothing, but I mean, it's just cool to have it. It's cool to have this thing, if nothing else. These machines aren't incredibly expensive or anything like that, but it is a piece of computing history and it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So let's just leave that off for a second and turn it upside down. And all right, so we got nothing. We got absolutely nothing there. So it's been 2 weeks since I filmed that introduction, and I turned it on and it didn't do anything. Now I did mention that there was a little bit of battery acid in there. It would seem kind of extreme if that would be the reason why this thing didn't work, but you never know. So what I thought we would do is go ahead and tear the thing down, and if nothing else, we'll get a teardown out of it. So I see 4 screws here. I should switch to a number 2. Who does number 2 work for? Okay, anyway, so we got that. Now I've never torn one of these things down, and I've never seen one torn down. I've actually only seen a couple of them in videos at all. So let's see what we got here. All right, so we're gonna try to lift this off. Feels loose enough. Okay. I'm gonna flip it over to the front. There we go. I'm glad I did that. All right, so we have a ribbon cable here. All right, so this is just loose. Okay, so we've got a bunch of ribbon cable booby traps in here. We've got some of this foam that's also kind of decomposing a little bit. This feels like it might just pull straight out. Oh, I hate these things. There we go. All right, so the keyboard's out of the way. Now this keyboard is excellent. You know, I think it'd be kind of fun to turn this whole thing into an SMS device or something like that. I used to love my BlackBerry, and I have never been as productive on a phone since I had my BlackBerry, and I kind of feel like it'd be fun to have some kind of oversized BlackBerry. We do have the screen here. Screen appears to be in fine shape. The whole thing actually is in really good shape. I was pretty surprised it didn't work, because I think most of the Tandy stuff is pretty resilient. All right, so we've got some bodges. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that these are factory bodges here. I'm having a hard time keeping this thing in the camera. So we do have some screws here that are for the ports. I don't know what it's gonna take. Yeah, I guess that has to, that's just to hold the ports. I'm thinking that this motherboard will come out without undoing those screws, but we'll see. Ah, here's another bodge over here. Interesting. And I don't know what this screw would be doing here, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, so this port thing is a little loose, the cover on the port. Let's flip it over. Wow, the scrunch. Oh, there is a NiCad battery in there. It doesn't appear to have leaked yet, but that thing is going away fast, quick, and in a hurry. As far as the battery goes, I don't really see any leakage from the battery itself. But let's go ahead and get this NiCad out there. You can see it's starting to leak. It hasn't fully leaked yet, but it is starting to leak. So that number 1 is gonna go. So before I get into trying to do any surgery, let's take a look at the motherboard. We have the space over here for the option ROM, which in this case is this Rex aftermarket CPU. And then I would assume this is just a regular ROM over here. We've got some other support chips. I would imagine one of those is RAM, just because I'm not seeing other smaller RAM chips over here. We've got an 8085 CPU, which is similar to an 8086. I believe this thing runs at 10 megahertz. We've got what I would imagine one of these is probably a keyboard controller, and the other one is probably some other kind of support IC. We have all of our audio stuff down here, and it's got an NEC, maybe that's a DAC, I'm not sure. Then over here we've got a whole bunch of stuff I think related to the cassette port and maybe a modem. I can't remember exactly what this thing had on it. And then it looks like we've got a straight through kind of bus connector here that would allow us to put in, connect accessories and stuff like that that would attach to the bus. And we've got our standard, would that be a parallel port? It's been a while since I've looked at the outside of this thing. Now, the more I look at it, the more concerned I am, because as you can see, we've got some battery acid there. We've got some battery acid on what looks like well, it is a diode D28 down there. So whatever little bit of acid was in here has actually escaped, which means that this thing needs to come off. And I was hoping to not have to do that level of surgery on it, but hey, I've never had one of these in my hands. I may never have one again, so let's go for broke. All right, so just taking a look at the board real quick on the back, it doesn't look like there's any kind of major damage from that acid leaking through on this side, which I would say is a good sign. I know this is one of the connectors, and I think this one over here is the other one. We're gonna try to desolder those and then see what we can do from there. So I've got my Hakko desoldering done. I've got some solder over here. I've got all my other stuff set up. I've got 99% alcohol, which I probably won't use, some vinegar for the battery acid, some Deoxit, some flux, and some 91% alcohol. So let's see here. Wish me luck. Okay, so I think that once I did the one, I'm going to get rid of these screws right here. These seem to be physically holding the battery connector in. And there we have it. So we do have some damage down here. A little worse than I thought. I mean, it's not horrific, but there's definitely some damage on some of these traces. Hopefully it would be just isolated to this port, but obviously it wasn't working, so we'll see. So the first thing we need to do now is we need to get some vinegar on there. Now, they say that it's called battery acid, but the reality is it's called battery base. This stuff is actually basic, so we are going to put a little bit, and hopefully it'll foam up and start doing its work to get rid of some of this stuff. And yeah, there you go, we're foaming up over there. Now, you could neutralize this stuff with water. I tend to use like the 99% or 91% alcohol to give this stuff an initial neutralization. I don't like to soak down the motherboard more than I have to, and this stuff is going to evaporate fairly quickly. I use these cheap coffee filters as sort of lint-free cloths. They're not the most absorbent thing, but they will spread things around a little bit and let it do its work. And we're going to come in here with a little dental pick and just physically try to scrape a little bit of this stuff off here. Who knows what's on the underside too. And that actually feels pretty clean. Okay, so we definitely have some bubbling on those traces and stuff like that, and this diode has seen slightly better days, but I got to thinking about it. So originally I forgot this thing had a barrel jack on it, and it does, but I have a Tandy 1100, and one of the things that surprised me about it is that the barrel jack had the hot on the outside and ground in the middle, and that made me think that maybe when I tested this thing with the power supply, it could have been reverse polarity. It does just say DC 6 volts, but no indication on polarity. So I thought about it. Since I've got this here, I've got this exposed via, I can bring in the CAIG meter and set it here to continuity. And I'm gonna have to put it off to the side here. And what we wanna check is the center pin positive? So we're gonna put this on the via here, and we are not getting any continuity there. So let me go down here to the outside, and we are. So this, is this a Tandy thing? Any of you guys who are Tandy fans, is this a Tandy thing to have the polarity on these barrel jacks reversed. So that's pretty interesting. So there's a chance that this thing may have always worked and I just didn't know it. So this is the power, but I will say this, I am glad that I pulled the thing apart and you know, stop that from doing any more damage. And I may even come in here and clean up those traces a little bit more. So the first thing I want to do is this is the power switch. I want to set it to on because I'm going to have a hard time getting to it underneath. And then I think what I should do is bring it back around here and at least try to get that screen on. Maybe what I'm going to do is do a little bit of Deoxit in there to make it make the contacts a little bit better and a little bit easier to put the thing in and out. So I'm gonna get the motherboard out of the way. I'm trying to keep you in shot. So we're gonna put a little bit of Deoxit in that socket. These needle bottles are money. You know, Deoxit and stuff like that's expensive, and it also dispenses horribly. So the stuff winds up just spraying all over the office and stuff. And with that, I mean, you can see I could use just a tiny fraction of the product. I'm gonna go ahead and route this through here because if it works, I don't want to disconnect it again. So we're gonna route this cable gently like that. And then this one looks like maybe it comes around here. I'm gonna have to look at my video to figure out how to put the thing back together, but I'm close. All right, so we're gonna put the screen on top here. And put this cable in. Maybe. Oh, that feels good. That's a lot better. A lot less crust in there. Okay, so I do think that we're ready to give it a try now. I wanna say if this does work, I did try the barrel jack with the polarity the way that you would expect it to be, and I did try AA batteries and they didn't work. So there is a chance that, you know, maybe some of that corrosion was preventing the battery connector from work, or the whole thing may just still be down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn on that Circuit Specialist power supply. I've got it set for 6 volts. I have the computer turned on and we're just gonna plug it in. Oh, yes! Nice, that is fantastic. Now I'm very curious as to whether the battery part still works. But let's see, we've got num lock down here. I'm sure there's some arrow keys somewhere. I've literally never used one of these things. I feel like these are the arrow keys. Yes! Okay, let's see if I can get it into text. Oh my gosh. Before I fully put this thing together, I want to note that these fingers on this ribbon cable are slightly delaminated, and so I put a little careful thing on here to remind me of that. I hopefully will not ever have to take this thing apart again, at least down here. So I'm just want to be mindful of that. Just a little tip. And then another thing I did was I also made a label telling me that this is 6-volt reverse polarity. I'm not going to probably put it on the side of it. Maybe I will. I don't know. But I'm going to put it somewhere on the thing so that I know that the polarity is off, so I don't mess myself up 6 months from now when I go to plug it back in. It also does make sense to clean the underside of this glass while I'm in here because I'm not going to be able to get to it again. So in the event that some of this stuff has kind of come off or anything like that, I want to clean it. I'm guessing this stuff is going to continue to decompose and I may wind up getting rid of it, but I might as well do what I can when I can. All right, so let's take some bets on whether this thing works with the batteries installed. It did not before, so let's turn it on. And boom, it does work. Although I do think the screen is a little bit more vibrant when it's plugged into the power supply, but it does work on batteries. Now, so to kind of summarize, it did not work on batteries to begin with, and it did not work with the barrel jack because I had it wrong. And so now I've got not one option, but 2 options. So I was looking up something about that Rex device that I have in there. I noticed that there's no software in here for managing those kind of ROMs. And I think what you're supposed to do is do call, let me try that again. Maybe need caps lock, I don't know. Call 63012, enter. All right, oh, so I've got Rex Manager on there now. So, wow, that was nice and easy. So now I can come in here and go to this and we'll see if there's anything interesting on this thing. So I feel like that's a pretty good place to stop. I obviously don't know what I'm doing with the Rex. I don't know what I'm doing with the 102. I know some basic, but I'm probably not going to sit here and type in a whole bunch of basic commands. If any of you guys have used the 102 or the Rex and have any tips for me, I would absolutely love that. Feel free to leave those in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe and do all that other YouTubery stuff. But I appreciate you guys watching, and have a great day.